Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tony the Mole Adams YouTube channel. Back for another week. We finally got that timeless episode, our first one out of the way, the fastest players in the NRL. So make sure you have a look at that because it's been sitting around for a while in production, but finally.
And let us know your thoughts too. If we've left anyone out who you think should be in there, we'll read the comments and reply.
Excellent. Yeah, we will. We will for sure. Okay, so Tony, this is your kind of weekend column we're having a chat about, and your first item is about Isaah Yeo, best lock in the comp, but he's got a challenger.
Yeah, that's right. And who would have thought Cory Horsburgh, who was a real hothead a couple of years ago, he had a stink with Ricky Stewart and looked like he was going to leave the Raiders. Somehow they resolved it. And I've said that he's fast moving in and may even overtake Isaah Yeo. Who knows? And Ricky sort of did me a favour today by naming him as captain of the Raiders for this weekend. Who would have thought a couple of years ago that this red-headed lunatic, for the want of a better word, would captain the Raiders, a depleted side, but it shows how he's matured, how he's come on. And you look at Canberra this year, I mean, well, a lot of us, including myself, tipped them to be wooden spooners. One of the big reasons they won't be wooden spooners is his form. He's been great for them.
And Tony, Daly Cherry-Evans is a player who, you thought, and I think a lot of people did, that maybe he should hang up the boots, but you've changed your mind.
Yeah, well, look, he got dropped from the Queensland team after they lost game one. Then they won games 2 and 3 without him. Manly have been going pretty ordinary, particularly early on when he made that shock announcement that he was leaving. But his last 2 games, Steve, he's had 8 try assists. I don't think anyone in the NRL can come close to that. And these are the big games we're talking about coming into the final series. So, we all thought the Roosters were a bit silly signing him. I thought he'd gone 1 year too long. Next year would have been 2 years too long. But there's obviously still life in those old legs. And they are old legs. He's the oldest guy in the NRL. I think he's 35 going on 36.
Now, one of our most popular videos, I'll point up to the corner of the screen again. I think we can link up there to them, is Moley names the biggest dickhead in the NRL. And, your next item, I think this is the same fella, but he's turned over a new leaf. He's also won you over again.
Yeah, look, Ronaldo Mulitalo, he was causing all sorts of drama not that long ago. He was getting in everyone's faces. He was mocking players for making mistakes. It was interesting to note on the weekend he scored a hat-trick against the Knights. He made Dom Young look silly a couple of times, but he kept it in his pants, so to speak. He didn't make Dom Young regret anything. He didn't mock him. He didn't have any words to him. So I think he's matured a little bit, and with the big games coming up, he's a vital man for Cronulla, and they don't need him doing anything silly that could see him getting sin binned or starting an altercation. So it's a good sign for the Sharkies.
Now, listening to the radio commentary on the 2GB continuous call on rugbyleague.com at the weekend, this fella, they said, when the Broncos played the Cowboys, that he was the best player for both teams. But he ended up man of the match anyway. I guess it's man of the match, of the whole match for both teams. Reese Walsh, you've got an item about him as well.
Yeah, well, that's what you get with Reese Walsh, isn't it? It's rocks or diamonds, and I basically said the same thing as the 2GB boys. In this one game, it was rocks and diamonds. He set up 2 or 3 tries, he scored one, but then he made 5 errors. So, he does that against a good side. Like, remembering the Cowboys have been pretty ordinary this year, yet they still scored 30 points against the Broncos and lost. Reese Walsh is going to have to pick up his act as good as he was at times. Those 5 mistakes, you do that against Melbourne or Penrith, he's going to get punished pretty severely. So, he's just going to have to, I think, tone it down a little bit, not try to win the game with every play.
Nuan Toasi, when he was down at Melbourne at the weekend, 4 tries, and a lot of people talking about him as a kangaroo tour. Not even a smoky now. I think most people think he's a good chance, better than even money chance of making the team, Tony. And he also broke a record with that double brace of tries.
Yeah, that's right, and I've got to credit our old mate David Middleton for that. I asked him the question because I was pretty sure what the answer would be. I said, "Has any player ever gone to Melbourne from a rival team and scored 4 tries?" And it took David about 30 seconds to answer me, N-O. So a real feather in his cap, Marky Mark, I like to call him, because I still have trouble with his last name. But it just shows what a player he is. Like the Storm have been going since 1997. You and I were there for their early games when we were young and foolish, and no one's, I think, come close to scoring 4 tries. He could have scored 5. And 2 of them were just freakish. So, yeah, he's just playing the house down.
Yeah, that's the thing about the name is when you hear people say it on the TV or radio and that, it's easy to say. And then a couple of days later, when you haven't heard it for a couple of days, you tend to stumble over it again. It's a funny one like that. The other thing, now you've got an item about a fella who was one of your 5 fastest players of all time, the Fox, Josh Addo-Carr. How he became the player he is today.
Yeah, and look, he celebrated, I think it was his 200th game on the weekend, or was it his 250th? It was one or the other.
200.
And 200 and scored a 110-metre try. But the thing I pointed out early in his career, and this is talking to club officials, coaches and the like, they didn't rate him. He was a South junior. They pretty much let him go. He went to Cronulla, played 2 years there without playing a first-grade game, then went to the Tigers. I think he played 9 games there in a season, scored a few tries. But then all of a sudden, Craig Bellamy thought, I'll give this guy a try. And as inevitably happens with Craig Bellamy, he became an absolute superstar there. He played, I think, close to 150 games, scored a lot of tries. Then went to Canterbury, was a little bit up and down. Canterbury were happy to let him go, and he's resurrected himself at Parramatta this year. In a pretty ordinary Parramatta side, he's scored some sensational tries. So it hasn't all been easy for the Fox, particularly early on, and he could have been forgiven for giving it up because a couple of these clubs told him you're not going to make it, but he refused to listen, and now he's one of our genuine superstars.
And finally, 28-4, the Bulldogs had a win over drastically depleted Penrith. And Cameron Ciraldo was happy with it. He thought all the pressure was on his men going into the game, and he thought they handled that okay. But you've got some reservations, Tony.
Yeah, I didn't think Canterbury were all that good. You take away Jacob Preston, who was by far man of the match, scored 3 tries. There wasn't a lot to enthuse about in a game they should have probably won by, you're talking about a top 4 team playing a virtual New South Wales Cup team. They probably should have won by 50, and they struggled for long periods. They made a lot of errors. They're going to want to improve this week, and I think they're not resting players as a result. They need a good performance going into the finals because last week just wasn't good enough, even though they won easily because Penrith had those 17 players out, which we knew was going to only lead to one result. But, if anything, I think Penrith got more out of that than Canterbury.
That's it for this show. We'll be back tomorrow with our flagship program, Midweek Scoops. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, I pointed up to a couple of videos during the show, so make sure you click and have a look at those. And we'll be back tomorrow. See you, Tony.
Sounds good, Steve.